I'm super, super happy to be here with all of you guys. Good afternoon, India. Good afternoon, Germany. Good morning from New York. Happy to be here. My name is Catherine, and I'm the program coordinator at the German Center for Research and Innovation in New York City. And I'm super excited to be with my colleagues in India today and also having fantastic friends here with us from Germany. And you're joining a session here on which is called Meet the Founders, Going International with Your Startup. And we have two stellar examples of very successful enterprises that went or are going international with their startups. And just to keep the etiquette here, I'm going to start with introducing our panelists for today. Don't worry, it's going to be very, very brief. And then you guys in the audience have the opportunity to ask questions in the chat function. Don't use the question and answers function, use the chat function, and I'll try and keep track of what you're asking. And please do so while we're talking. You don't have to wait until the end or until somebody tells you to ask a question. So that would be great. So I'm very excited to be here with Alpha and Pratik. And I want to give you a little bit about themselves, about their background, but they'll tell you about themselves in a few minutes and how they got to where they are. So let me start with Pratik. Pratik has a very, very interesting journey in life so far behind him. He started as a pure and very successful researcher and scientist, and he received his PhD from the Max Planck Society in Germany, and he worked under the supervision of Nobel laureate Professor Christiane Nüsslein-Volhard, very, very renowned scientist there. And he's published his research in many, many very important journals, the high-impact journals, and mentored science-based startups at MIT, in Berlin, and in other places. But he also has an extensive background in strategic advising because he was also working for Ernst & Young at some point. And he is, still working with the Max Planck Society. And he's also the CEO of his own startup, BioWeg. It's very difficult to speak English and then seeing a German name. So I almost said BioWeg, but that doesn't work. So I'm sorry about that. And then we have Alpha. Alpha is here with us. And she has a PhD in computational biology from the University of Bonn. So she's joining us from Bonn. Pratik, I think you're in Düsseldorf. So you're very close to one another, exactly. And Alpha, you've received the Hugo Geiger Prize, which is a super prestigious prize in Bavaria from the Bavarian Ministry of Economic Affairs for the best doctoral thesis at some point. You've also published in many, many journals, and you have a lot of experience in bioinformatics, right? Especially in computable modeling, and here one of your fortes or one of your areas of expertise is Alzheimer's disease, among many others. You're working as a scientist at Fraunhofer's SCAI in Germany, and you're involved in many research projects and collaborations with European and US partners. And most importantly, you also have your own startup, which is called Causality Biomodels. And with that, what I would like to do today is actually start with having you talk a little bit about your journey, how you got to where you are, what it was like. Maybe there are some funny moments, some funky moments, some moments of success, maybe some moments where you had to make a tough decision. And why don't you just give us your personal journey and also tell us what your startups do? And maybe Pratik, you can start with that. I think you're still on.
Thank you, Catherine, for your kind introduction. Yeah, I mean, I currently, so we are BioWeg, located here in near to northern, called Quakenbrück, which is in northern Germany. It's a small town. And what we do is we are a biomaterial and a biotech company. So we replace microplastic with the help of some biomaterials. And especially in the consumer industry, packaging industry, and also in the food industry. And this is a very pressing issue these days, especially keeping in mind Europe as well as many other countries are currently creating their sustainable strategy, and all the consumers are more aware about environment and so on. Yeah, but looking back, I still remember my first day when I landed in Berlin. And I did my master's in Leibniz Institute in master's in neuroscience. So I got a scholarship, and I just took my bag and headed for Germany without even learning a single word of German. I was struggling to get into a toilet with where should I go with the Damen and Herren, and keeping my pattern recognition of English, thinking about Damen is the men. Uh, those were quite interesting early days. But from my masters, I moved to do my PhD at Max Planck, where I had a very interesting and amazing time. And during my PhD times, I got an opportunity to participate in the student organization at Max Planck Society. Later on, where I become the president of the student organization of Max Planck Society. So I worked a lot with German politicians representing Max Planck at EU, Bundestag, White House, and so on. And there I learned a lot of things outside the science, yeah. And that basically gives me a more opportunity that let's create a bridge between science and society, or science or business, yeah. That's how this whole journey was about, yeah.
That's amazing. And before I hand over to Alpha, I asked you that question before because you ended up in it. The name is just very funny, Quakenbrück. And I had to look it up on the map. It's not, at least for me, not being in the field that you are, I didn't know where it was. So I looked it up and it's a funny name. It almost sounds like it's a name from a Donald Duck cartoon, right? When you look at
actually I was living in Frankfurt for a couple of years because I worked in the strategy consulting, where helping all the pharma companies and working with the CEO of DSM, BASF, and so on. And then when we have the startup and we raised some money with the investors, we need to find a place where we can put down our pilot plant, yeah, our operations. And usually you always look for a place which is where you cannot put a chemical or biomaterial startup in the center of the big cities. But we were looking for a place where you have some partner which can help you. Yeah? So we find a partner called German Institute of Food Technology. That's a research institute, but they do research only for industry. Yeah. So and they have really bigger machines, pilot scale machines, which you can use on hourly basis. So in order to save some money on and not to buy all those machines in the very beginning, we moved to Quakenbrück. That's a very small village actually. And we are getting really a lot of help from them in terms of how to use the technology and what is the best machines and best processes and so on. Yeah, that was the reason to move to Quakenbrück.
And I also hope they gave you good package. They gave you good incentive.
Yes, yes. So we wrote some grants with them as well. So there are a lot of possibilities here in Germany to write. The companies can write grants, research grants, and we got 2 research grants roughly worth 1 million just in July. So we are working with them, doing adapting our processes to standardizing our processes and so on, especially in the production and R&D. Yeah.
Yeah. So Alpha, this is actually good news for you since you're embarking to open up a shop in Germany as well. So why don't you take us on your little journey up until this point, and then also what you're thinking about where you want to go in Germany. I mean, you're in Germany right now, but your company is still in India.
Yeah, exactly. So first of all, thank you, Catherine, yeah, for the kind introduction. And of course, I would like to also thank, DWIH, yeah, New Delhi, to inviting me to the panel discussion. So yeah, I am, Catherine really introduced well. So I am working as a CSO, that is the Chief Scientific Officer at Causality Biomodels, which is the startup of me, let's say in India. So what we do there, everyone, yeah, right now, really hear like a lot of, this, buzzwords, yeah, AI, ML algorithms, everybody is using that, yeah. And I come from this biological background, or let's say more kind of a bioinformatics background. And let's say the main problem there is that, yeah, you have like all these advanced AI algorithms, but the problem is that, you are always lacking let's say, the data that are really, let's say, in a high quality or a pre-processed stage that could be used for the AI or the ML algorithm. So there, so at Causality Biomodels, what we really do is that we make, let's say, the data and also the knowledge ready for the AI algorithm. So that's, let's say, the tagline. And so around that, what we do is that, of course, we do a lot of like pre-processing around the data and making it AI ready. And another one we do is more of like a knowledge graphs. That means we use the NLP and the text mining to extract the knowledge from the scientific literature and convert that into kind of networks, which can be used for, many different applications in the bioinformatics. And another topic that we work at Causality Biomodels is the ontology building, or working more around the semantic technologies, that is again giving more context information to the AI algorithm. So it's like, kind of, let's say, something where you really spend a lot of time, everyone who is working on AI really know that, we usually spend a lot of time for this pre-processing purposes, and that is where we focus mainly. And yeah, then looking back, how I started Causality Biomodels, or it is like little, let's say, the company idea really came from the frustration, because like I mentioned, it is, when I was really working at Fraunhofer, it was always the problem with the real quality data. And let's say I just, got the idea of starting the company in India just based on, let's say, the frustration, or, that was really happening. So at Fraunhofer, when I was doing my PhD, I was working with, a lot of scientific assistants. That means mainly the students. And so at that time, there were like around 15 students, and working with students, the quality can be, very heterogeneous, and we have to also, like, really see, how much, let's say, the schedule, the meetings, and everything is very difficult. And then I thought of, like, really, why don't we really start something in India? Because there we have like really young, huge talent there. And that is how I really started it. My company in India. And right now, of course, we are working more on this AI. So let's say the sister company, I wanted to start in Berlin in the coming months, and this will be more on the AI applications. So I think I answered all your questions, Catherine. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think it's always good to start with how have you done it, right? Because I think that's the best example. Alpha, why did you guys choose Berlin?
So why did we choose? Of course, before moving to Germany, we were already discussing with many startup units. So like in India, we also have in Germany, many places where they really offer, let's say, there are many incubators and startup units and so on. And when we really checked into the Berlin, then they have like really a health cluster. So that is very focused on the health area. So that's one point. And of course, when we checked out the events and so on, there are more, let's say, very specific, or, the events that, that can connect us to the, let's say, the pharma industry, or, where our customers are. So that are, let's say, some of the criteria why we chosen Berlin as our, let's say, the location. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
And then
networking also. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you both checked really closely into, where the best place could be when you expand. But Pratik, you have a lot of experience. I mean, you went from hardcore science and research. You also then you branched out and you went into more business and strategic advising and consulting and so on. What would you say is very important, first of all, when you think about having your own startup in the first place? And then maybe even going the step further, well, I'm not only doing it at home, but I'm doing it someplace else. From your experience, what would you say? What is like a general thread that you follow, or things that you think about?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, a couple of things, right? So one is team. Yeah, I think the more important thing is that you have the right team. The team which is playing different kinds of role, not all the co-founders or all the team members having the same background. So first thing is the team. Second thing, whatever technology you have, you should have tested it with the real customers, right? And not in the best format, but whatever prototype you have, and you should get a positive feedback. Yes, it's interesting and we would like to use it or buy it. And then investors, the money. Yeah. So without money, you cannot execute anything. And I think this is one of the part which was the most difficult. Yeah, especially raising money. We all three of the co-founders we have for BioVec, all of us are Indians. We connect very well. We met along the journey in Germany. So I spent roughly like last 12 years here, and I think all three of us are very complementary. So, but it was very difficult to raise money as an Indian co-founder here in Germany. You need some kind of a trust network from the investors, as well as some clients which are ready to give you letter of intent or start to work with you. So and definitely last but not the least, bureaucracy. Yeah. So which is part of every culture in every country. So you have to know how to handle the bureaucracy. So these are, I think, 4 pillars which are very, very important for any startup. Yeah.
And would you say there's also a big portion of courage that you need to do that?
Yes.
I mean, think about yourself, where you came from, right? So the fifth pillar probably is courage to do that.
Yeah. So the risk taking is the biggest thing, right? So I mean, I when I was doing my PhD, my clear objective was to become a professor, right? So you do a PhD with the wholeheartedness that you love science, yeah. Otherwise, it's very difficult to finish PhD. And I was very lucky. I had quite good success in the beginning. So I got this first author publication in Science, and then Nature, and then subsequent Cell journals and so on. And it was quite well connected, and the path to become to have an academic career was more easy, being honest, and clear as compared to the uncertain part of the industry or going outside to set up something. But I thought what I love the most. Yeah. So I am usually taking risks. I'm a very different personality. It depends upon the personality of the person. So I even changed topics. I did my master's in neuroscience, and then I did my PhD in a totally different field called developmental biology and genetics. So, and I thought, let's take a risk here and let's decide for the uncertain part, because I'm going to learn a lot. And this is the time that I can learn, but might be later in the life, it will be difficult to learn new things. So I choose for the uncertainty and did a lot of self-study, right? So I thought I can mitigate these risks by learning more, right? And in this world of internet, knowledge is for free, being honest. There are Coursera, YouTube, a lot of content out there, MIT OpenCourseWare, where you can learn finance, economics, basics of business strategy. So I self-educate myself. I prepare for the consulting interviews, and I appear in the consulting interviews, got a job, and there as well, I learn a lot. And now, after learning for some years in business and knowing science, I thought now it's the right time to connect both of them. Yeah.
No, I think it's a fantastic example, because it really shows that you're an expert in a certain field, or an expert in certain fields in your case, right? But you never just stick with that. You branch out and actually use that. And I think a lot of what you do is about really also applying what you know. It's not just knowing it and knowing it for the sake of knowing it and experimenting with it, but it's also, bringing it to a market or turning it into a solution.
Yeah, I still remember my boss, first week of my PhD, I asked my boss what topic I should do for my PhD. And she said, well, it's me who will decide the topic and everything. And then I proposed a topic which was very easy, of following up my master thesis. And she told me, okay, I have to give you a guidance here, how to make career outside. And she told me, never ever choose the same topic, or never ever do the work even in the same field. try to jump over to different fields, because when you do your postdoc or bachelor or master or PhD in different fields, you tend to touch different nodes, and in future the mixture what's going to come out will be much more innovative and much more new, because now you have knowledge about you are working at the intersection of different fields. So I think I follow that advice, still, and I try to still explore areas which I have no idea, like trying to these days what I'm studying is more on the food science. I'm reading more about tastes, proteins, and how to make a better food for future. That's a totally new area to me, but I would probably in future I would explore that. Yeah.
Amazing. And Alpha, I'm going to be with you in 1 second, but I want to say, Pratik, that it's very interesting, not only from the food perspective, but it's also interesting from the manufacturing industry perspective of, let's say, kitchen appliances.
Yes.
Because there are big companies that spend years and decades on finding the right temperature to prepare certain meals. And if we change the protein structure of our meals,
yes,
then naturally the devices have to follow. So there's like, it's all, always, it's never just one thing, but the chain reaction is much larger. So your business model automatically grows immediately.
Yeah, so there's a lot of opportunity in the food sector coming up, especially, I think especially in the Western world, people are moving towards plant-based diets and plant-based protein, keeping in mind that all the viruses and the meat industry is shrinking over the time. And now this question is, there are 2-3 bigger questions coming out from that. One is the oil, the fat which you get from the animal meat industry, and the second is the protein. Yeah. So there is a lot of research going on, and there's a lot of opportunity in this area as well, which is coming up.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And Alpha, I want to go back to the same question about, risk taking and what was important for you to really also make that transition. You talked a little bit about you worked with the students quite a bit, and then you decided to take that step. But what was it like? Because you found it in India first, you're still there. And now you're leaping into a completely different environment in Berlin. So, and Pratik was saying a lot about, it's no longer about this one thing that you started. You all of a sudden need to be a jack of all trades, basically, and not just in your home market, but also looking beyond. So what drives you to do that? Why do you think this is important to branch out, to grow? How did you do that all?
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I must agree, with the point that, it's all about, taking the risk and, yeah, if possible, relatively in a, in an younger age, I would say, yeah, like in, 20s or 30s or so, because, as you really like go, all then, it's not, let's say, advisable. Yeah. So let's say the courage and, the risk taking mentality is something that we have to have, to become, let's say, to really start a business or so. But saying that, I think, we should also have like a bit of, backup plan too. Yeah, because it's not like completely jumping, into that. And so in my case, what I did, of course, this idea was there. I was discussing this with my, like, let's say my Dr. Vater, Professor Martin Hofmann-Apicius, and initially, like, he was not that convinced. Yeah, okay, the girl from India, okay, she's still doing the PhD. Maybe she is, just telling it. Yeah, but somehow, I tried to convince. I talk with him again and again, and after a while, he really understood that, I have, let's say, that spark, or this is really in my head. So then he allowed. And then comes, let's say, I am working at Fraunhofer, and so we have to really, also see, let's say, if I am really, going to start another company, we have to discuss it with here. So then it went on to the institute's lighter, that means the institute head. And then he was advising me on a different topics, like, my family is here in Germany, and then you are, starting a company in India. So how are you going to manage that, and so on? Yeah, but still, there are like, a lot of I mean, yeah, I mean, in a year, I have to maybe fly back to India like 4 times or so, but still, it's okay, it's worth it. And nowadays, everyone is working like online, and you can do a lot of like team management also like online. Yeah, so that's like okay. But initially, when I started, I took some vacation, some extra, we call it as like special vacation, Sonderurlaub. And then I went and really trained my entire team for around like 4 months. And it was okay, right? I mean, in 4 months, they were all like good. So that's like all, yeah, some extra things you need to do. Of course, you need to really see whether you have, let's say, economically or like, financially, are you really, stable to really do this training for 4 months and so on. Yeah. Yeah, again, it's all about like risk taking and, just, really jumping, I would say.
Mm. And since that, I mean, I still want to go back to that statement that you made. You were in Germany, your family's in Germany, but you started the company in India.
Mhm.
If you take us back to that moment, what was that decision to start in India first versus Pratik is in Germany, right? He was in Germany and he started a company in Germany, but you specifically decided to do that in India. And maybe you can
Yeah.
explain also why you're there first. And now, of course, you're thinking of doing it
So
both places.
it's also like around, I think, talent. Yeah. So it's about the data pre-processing or the nature of the work that you are doing. You might need, like, let's say, more people, more experts, more biology experts, actually, in my case. And then I thought, or we thought, like, it would be like, more nice to really start in India, because, in India, we have excellent talents, actually. So that was one of the main reason. And yeah, and of course, yeah, I think that was like the only reason. And of course, secondly, India is my homeland, so I always, wanted to found something in India so that I can really fly. Yeah, it's not something like, let's say, that is something I don't like, that is something I really wish to do, right? Like 4 times flying, from Germany to India is really a big advantage. So yeah, these are the main two reasons mainly to decide to start in India. And right now, why I am moving to Germany, again, we expanded, we wanted to really do more on AI and so on. Then, and most of our customers are also in Europe and also in US. And if we have a company really like found in Germany, then like Pradeep mentioned, we can also join in a lot of grants and so on. So that is also one of the reason why I am starting now a branch in Germany.
Okay. Yeah, that of course makes a lot of sense. And in a conversation that we had previously, you said also it was rather a good structure and network in India to start a company as well. There's a lot of support that you can tap
Oh, yeah.
into, and it was just making a lot of sense for you.
A lot actually, because India, I mean, I can mention about, the Startup India. So I think in almost all states you have the startup mission. And let's say my company is incubated in the Kerala Startup Mission. They already offer a huge infrastructure. So it's pretty like straightforward. So you have all the support there.
Okay, that's great. And Pratik, how is that? What is that like in Germany? Because you're in an environment, you said your colleagues are also Indian, right? And then you said you came and you weren't speaking any German or not a lot of German. So what is that experience like? What is the support network there? And then I also want to ask both of you following up in getting investments eventually, or money or funding or anything. So if you can take us on the other side, on the other journey.
Especially founding a company here in Germany. So I was working at Ernst & Young and had a lot of advisors or senior partners who have done or supported someone in the previous jobs and so on. Then Berlin is a startup hub, right? So Berlin, Munich, we were part of some of the incubator programs. And we learned a lot. We also come across certain advisors on the topic of how to found a company. So there is a law firm in Berlin called Osnabrunn Clark. So we got a lot of advice from them that what are the legal structures you need to develop in order to have to set up the company and so on and so on, right? So a lot of there is an overall ecosystem present here in Berlin as well as in Munich. You just need to be part of one or the other incubator, which will give you a dual advantage. First is to give you a guidance on your product, technology, and testing in the German market. And second, also on the advice on how to found a company, what are the legal matters, and how to handle the bureaucracy, right? So these were some of the paths which we took, yeah, in order to solve those issues. Raising money is a totally different game, yeah. And I think before jumping to raising money, I would ask I would ask how many what do you think, how many startups are able to raise money from the Idea Foundation to just get the first round of funding? Yeah. Do you think?
I have no idea. I can't.
So let me fastly jump on it because we don't have an interactive session here, but less than 10%, less than 10%. Yeah. So the VCs are, especially in the seed round, angels and VCs, they screen so many ideas, and sometimes, especially for angel investors, they invest into less than 10 companies out of 100. Yeah. And for VCs, it's even more or less, yeah. So there might be one company out of 100. So it was a journey, and I think usually it helps with winning a prize, yeah. So if you win a prize somewhere, I think that is the best time to start raising the money, because now you have a stamp from an incubator program or from a pitch competition, and that your idea worth something, your business model worth something. And we did the same. So we took part in an incubator program of DSM, which is a chemical company in Netherlands. It's a biotech and chemical company, and they had an incubator program with the Technical University of Delft. So we took part in that, and it was a global competition. So we were in Delft for roughly 3.5 to 4 months, where we gave our product to them. We look at the business, we look at the price, how much is the competitor price, and so on, right? And we tested all those different hypotheses which we had regarding our business. And in the end of the competition, we got the first prize. So in the Netherlands, it was a lot of news that a biotech company got a first prize at the biotech company like DSM. Yeah. So suddenly all the investors were interested, and they start sending requests to have meetings with us. So we went to attend a lot of meetings from in Netherlands up and down, and with a couple of VCs we have finalized the term sheet, and then with one VC we went for the due diligence, which is the process of open up your whole technology and really look them. They look basically with what's real and what kind of value. But in the end, I think it's very important to choose the right investor, right? And what do I mean by right investor? That there are some people who will just bring money, like banks. They will not bring any kind of knowledge to help you in your business, right? And then there will be some people who will bring money, but their money is for like a corporate venture. Yeah, for example, the shoe company Bata might be investing in a shoe startup. Yeah, so that's a corresponding venture they would like to invest in, but it has pros and cons. Yeah, so we had some kind of a bad feeling before closing the round, and then I went back to my connections in Ernst & Young and talked to them. And the guy, we have a managing partner and a managing director of Ernst & Young. He did his PhD in chemistry at ETH Zurich, and then he worked in the chemical business for 30 years. Very vibrant guy. He said, let me think for 24 hours. And then he'd come back and next day say, this is an amazing idea. I will invest my personal money with all the money what these three companies are giving you in combination. So, and that was really good, because when you are taking money, you are not only, you are marrying those people. Yeah.
Yes.
You cannot get rid of them.
No.
And they can get rid of you easily. Yeah, you need to have a good relationship with them, and you need to find the right people. So, especially in the science company, the problem with the financial advisors or the financial companies is they don't understand science. If your experiments will fail, if your algorithms will not run up to the accuracy what it should be, they will never ever understand this. They will just look onto the numbers and they say, we don't care, we want these numbers and financial numbers, you are not giving back to us, that there's a gap. But if you have an advisor or investor who understand your product, your science, you can always not only discuss your failures, what you are doing, but you can also discuss potential solutions, or where should I go to find a solution, right? So, and I think this is exactly what we did. So we have monthly meetings with them. We discuss science in the meeting, and we are so happy that they understand science.
Yeah.
But we discuss business as well. Yeah, let's prioritize some of the things where we can find the solution, and so on and so on. So, and this would not be the case in case of venture capital investors and so on. But in the beginning, you will fail. It's impossible not to fail, because if you are not failing, then you are not progressing. So you need people who understand those smaller failures and help you to move further. So that's we got this money from the angel investors who understand science, and we are working with them. And probably next year we will make a bigger round to set up a bigger scale-up plant here in Germany. And for that we will go for bigger VCs, right? So that's
That
the
makes
whole
sense.
money game, yeah.
But that makes sense. And you're making for me, you're making two very important points, specifically about Germany. One is that it's almost easier if you go through a different country back to Germany. So you went through the Netherlands, for example. I know a lot of examples that go through the United States even, because what happens in Germany is people here need a proof of concept somehow. They don't want to be the first. Germans don't want to be the first movers usually, right? They do a lot of research. They want everything to be 99% in place before they take a risk. They would never test a product at an earlier stage, like an American, for example, would do. So when companies take their idea, their product, let's say, to the market where I'm, the United States, and then it's easier for them to enter back into Germany, even though their headquarters might be in Germany.
Yes.
So that to me is one thing. Germans are very risk averse, and they like to see that you had success someplace else. And then they're very happy to take you on. And your second point, which as managing director of a Swedish startup myself, I realized is that yes, the best investments come from your network that understands you. We also only had basically friends from the field that had some money and that were willing to invest, with of course the caveat that you dilute a little bit.
Yes.
Every time you take somebody on, you give up a little part of your company, but that's the trade-off.
Yes, without dilution, I think it's especially for companies where you need a lot of investment, it's very difficult to move further, right? So look at Apple, look at Google, all of them are diluted, but all of them are at very high places, right? So
very much so. And Alpha, what is that like for you guys, looking for funding, looking for investments? How do you do that?
Yeah, so let's say, so I have like a bit different story. Yeah, so my company, like we started like in 2018 April, and until now we are really financed by our own projects. Yeah, so it's like until now we never went to, let's say, VCs or other external people for any investment, because we luckily, let's say, yeah, we always have projects who can, or yeah, which can really finance us. So that's the point now. And of course, yeah, as we scale up to Germany, still our plan is to really fund ourselves with our projects, because yeah, we always think going to the VCs and so on, maybe in a later stage or so we will do, but at least in the initial years or so, we would like to really see whether we really can make money from our customers itself. And until now it worked out. yeah, so let's say I don't have much experience to really share, in case of like VCs or investments,
Yeah, but that's also a great route to go. If you can make
Yeah.
money from your own projects, I
Yeah.
mean, then you have a lot less stress.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
then I feel that it's about, you are not diluting, right? I mean, it's like, what is there in the company is all belonging, to you and your co-founders. Yeah, that's much better. And of course, I had like also enough contacts and so on with my customers, because of my work in Fraunhofer and so on. So, yeah, so that really helped me, But again, it is not the case with each and every sector also,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, Pratik, did you have a comment for that? I saw you start speaking as well.
Yeah, I think it's great if you can survive on your on customer projects and so on. This is amazing, but you have to look it from how you can fastly grow. Yeah, and I think we want to go very fastly. We last December we had 0 employees. We were just 3 co-founders. Now we have 12, and we
Wow.
plan to 30 to 40 employees by the end of next year. And 5 years might be more than 100. So we want to grow really fast. And if you want to grow fast, you want to hire people. You will never ever. I think it's more about the appetite. Yeah, how big you want to make. Definitely there are really good examples which have grown just organically without taking any money. But looking at the landscape, especially in sustainability, looking at how much money is there in the market, and yes, you have to negotiate, but it's all about when you and your co-founders are there, you are just 3 people thinking about how to grow. Yeah. But when you have VCs, now you have more minds. Yes, they bring money, but they also bring their minds and all kinds of connections to grow you. So there is a trade-off. Yeah, I'm not saying one side is better or one side is bad, but there is it's 2 sides of the coin. Yeah, so it depends upon what you want.
Exactly. And also, I think it all depends upon, which sector you are operating. Yeah. For example, I know friends like who is starting a biotech company, like, maybe really they wanted to, find a really new drug or so. Then, yeah, they need like a huge investment. Yeah. Especially if you are really setting up a wet lab or so. Yeah. Then, of course, you need to go and really get other external investment. But in my case, it's like a bioinformatics company. We are just 15 people. Yeah, and it's like, it's okay. Yeah, I mean, we can survive and, go like that. Yeah. So it all depends upon different sectors, actually.
And does it make sense in those cases also to work together with the larger institutions, like a Fraunhofer, for example, if you have a big onset cost in that area? What would you both say to that? What are the advantages, and maybe there are disadvantages also?
We collaborate. Yeah, it's always better to know which machine before having the final prototype. I wouldn't suggest to buy any kind of bigger machines because you don't know which will be the final process or how the final prototype will look like, right? Whether it's protein or whether it's a material or whether it's something else, XYZ, right? So it's always great if you know a research institute or your home research institute can give some hours of service to your startup for generating prototypes, for using machines, and that's why we don't want to buy all those machines and testing and services. That's why BioVeg works with this German Institute of Food Technology. We also work with Max Planck. We also work with Fraunhofer. We are doing actually 2-3 projects with 2-3 different Fraunhofer institutes. Because Fraunhofer is a very how to say, it's a research institute in Germany which is more developed towards commercialization. So they have a very strong know-how in terms of industrial settings, which you can buy as a service. Yeah. So their whole model is very much service oriented, and they are very friendly in terms of working with companies, and they understand all kinds of what is the proper path and so on of IP and co-IP and so on. So
yeah.
It makes more sense. As I said, it's all about trying to figure out everything by yourself or trying to get along others in the journey and take their service so that you can be faster. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And from your perspective, Alpha.
Yeah, so I am still working, at Fraunhofer, and yeah, I would say like a product of Fraunhofer. So yeah, I mean, like Pratik said, yeah, we are really like an applied research institute, and we really foster, or we really like to really take our know-hows or the technology know-hows more into the industry. So we have like a lot of programs also very much dedicated towards including the startups. So some of the programs are like Ahead, yeah, where you can really work with Fraunhofer Institute. So I think that is one Pratik was mentioning. And there, I mean, even from the very starting stage, like you have like, the startup idea sessions, mentoring sessions, also the investment. So we have also this Fraunhofer Ventures, which is again, the venture investment from the Fraunhofer. So there are like a various opportunities. You could also start like your company as a spin-off if you like to. So this was also like one of the opportunity that I had, yeah. Like my company, I could, really like, let's say start it up as a spin-off actually. And this all like supports you later, because, when you have like a big, research institute like Fraunhofer backing your company, it's always advantageous, yeah. But it is not anything like, solely only for the Fraunhofer employees also, but it is we really welcome like, other startups or other founders to really join with us and really like, form, let's say, yeah, the company together. So this is also possible from the Fraunhofer side, yeah.
Great. And I just put in the chat that, the audience, please feel free to ask a question. This is your chance because we have two amazing panelists here that know a lot about internationalization, taking your startup international. But if I'm just going to check the chat, and if there's no question, I'm just going to keep talking until we're done with the session. And what I'm very curious about is our session is called Taking Your Startup International, going international with your startup. And the work of the German Centers for Research and Innovation are also in kind of enticing or promoting this type of internationalization, which sometimes can be a little bit tough. Thinking of the German landscape in general, they have a large market in front of their door. They don't really think about going international when you found a company. But what would you say? How would you make a plea for, even at the very beginning, even if you don't think about opening an office somewhere? Why do you think internationalization is important? And also, what do you think makes this beautiful mix of your local experience, your own cultural experience, your own professional experience on a global scale? Without even thinking of, I don't need to be in a different city. I can stay in India. I can stay wherever I am, but I should really maybe start looking a little bit beyond even at that moment. If you were to make a plea for that, what would that be?
I mean, I would say that your customers could be anywhere in the world, right? But German companies are known to be very innovative for in terms of using. They are known for the whole Germany is known for Mittelstand, the smaller companies or middle market companies, which are known to take technology take out of science and taking it further and making it big. Yeah. So it's in the culture of Germany to take science to the next level. I think this culture is developing slowly in India to really take science and invest in science, but it's still not mature enough. Yeah. And it's on an extreme level in US. So if you go to California or in New York, in Boston, with a amazing scientific idea, you can raise big amounts of money just on the idea, not even on the product. So I think these are different cultures. So especially for science to business, I strongly encourage that there are possibilities to connect with different customers in Germany who value science, who value proposition of your product from the science perspective. So that's why I would say always look for customers here. There is a program, Indo-German startup program, which is actually initiated by Ministry of Culture here in Berlin. And what they do is basically they connect startups from India to Germany and from Germany to India. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very happy to connect if anybody wants a connection there. But before closing, I just want to mention one thing. GenSip, exactly. Thank you
Yeah.
for GenSip is the program. And I just want to say 2 or 3 things, especially for all the startups who are in the early science stage. I would strongly suggest you to write grants. Yeah, there are certain grants from Indian government which you can write with the idea without even opening the startup. Write those grants. Yeah, I think there's a grant from BARC or something which you can write. Whenever you are writing a grant, take a grant consultant, because these grants have something different. These are not scientific grants. Yeah. Thanks again.
This is Bairak. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Alpha. Take a grant consultant, because these are not scientific grants. These are business grants. So you need some support there, because if you write a scientific grant, you might be a very good idea, will not be successful. Yeah. Then after opening the startup, there are also grants from the Indian government. I think there are a lot of Atal incubation centers here and there in India, which can also incubate your idea and help you to grow further. So I think now the Indian government is bringing a couple of opportunities in different states. State governments are bringing opportunities. Look for what kind of opportunities are there in your ecosystem. Little bit make a base, and then go for testing outside. Yeah, that is something which I wanted to say in terms of do and don'ts. Yeah, don't go outside too early without setting up the base.
Yeah, that's good advice. And Alpha, also from your the closing statement here, what's your pitch for think internationally, but make sure that you don't fall into too many traps at the same time?
Yeah, I think, having like your startup in India, most of our customers are outside, like I mentioned earlier, like in Europe and also in US. Yeah. So I think, I mean, from my experience, again, at least in science field, let's say global, yeah, the different cultures and all these really don't play a lot, because everybody wants to have a high quality product. Yeah, and whether it is from India or from Germany, it really doesn't matter much. At least that is my experience, because if you are really delivering the best product, of course there will be people to really buy it. And yeah, and of course there are like Pradeep mentions, like GenSep and other programs. Even again, startup in India, there are I think GenSep is also coordinating with Startup India and organizing various events actually. So going international is not at all like a difficult path, I would say. So you can really think about it from the day one, actually.
I think this is a perfect motivation. To me, this is the last hour was a very, very big motivation to think bigger, to also not be held back by anything. Never think that, I know this one, I'm good at this one thing. I'm an expert here, and this is what I love doing. Always to really explore other opportunities and other fields of knowledge, like you said in the very beginning, Pratik. And I didn't see any questions, so I'm not sure if we overwhelmed our audience with all the good ideas. I hope that we actually motivated our attendees to continue what they're doing, and to stay very focused and stay motivated, and also to encourage them to take a risk here and there, an educated risk, and sometimes just one that you do from your gut, that you don't think too much about it because it feels right. I think that's important as well.
Yeah, and I think there are like people out there to help you. Yeah, so you just need to move on. Yeah.
Beautiful. Moving on, I think the program has to move on. There's a lot going on in Delhi right now. So with that, I think we're at the end of our session. I would love to thank the audience that trickled in. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for being with us for the last hour. And of course, thank you to you, Alpha and Pratik, for sharing all your wonderful stories that I think really lifted our spirits and then made everybody go, yes, I want to do this. I want to continue. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And hopefully we'll see you soon. And I guess if anyone would like to connect with you, you'd be open to that as well.
Yes,
oh, yeah.
Please.
Yes.
Please connect on LinkedIn, Pratik Mahalwar, so you can find me on LinkedIn. Feel free. Or Twitter.
Yeah. Same with me too. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. And keep following the German Centers for Research and Innovation. There are 5 of us. So if you want to go to any market from Tokyo to Brazil, we're here for you as well. Thank you. Have a fantastic day, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah.
Thank you.